This video is about how to recover quicker from FAI hip surgery. So FAI has become a very popular diagnosis. There's a lot of people who are being told they have FAI. And most of them, or a lot of them, are opting for the surgery because so far it's been the only thing that's really available. A little physical therapy is available, but it's usually, I don't think the physical therapy has evolved to the point where it can really address in a systematic way helping people fix FAI non-surgically. So people are opting for surgery, no problem. Say you've just had surgery, how do you aid the recovery process? Because someone just dug in there, cut through the muscles and the fascia in your hip, shaved the bone down. That's a lot of trauma in the hip. You're going to have to recover from that. So here's 5 key things that you need to do to make sure that the recovery process is as fast as it can be. Basically, these are the 5 things. You have to optimize your tissue quality, your range of motion, optimize your motor control, the way you're positioning your body when you're moving or playing your sport, optimize your food, your nutrition, what you're putting into your body that is then becoming your body, your hydration, how perfused all your muscles are with fluid is really important in the recovery process, and of course your sleep. Sleep is the time, deep sleep and enough sleep is the time when your body repairs itself more than any other time. And then also optimizing your headspace, which we'll get into last, which is overlooked but very important part. And I wanted to just say that optimizing all of these things is, think of it like a path. You don't just in 3 months you optimize all of those things. This is a path of mastery. From the day that you get done with your surgery for your hip to the finish in quotes, it's a path of mastery. Meaning, mastery doesn't happen quickly, so think of it like going back to college for several years to become a master in these things. So the first one is optimizing tissue quality. That means if your muscles have this big old gnarly knot in them, you can't just leave that myofascial restriction there. And all of us have knots and trigger points in and out of our bodies all the time. But after a surgery where someone has very invasively kind of gotten in there and blown things up, cut through muscles and stuff like that, your normally pretty aligned muscles become kind of scar balls, where all that trauma happened. And a lot of people make the mistake of just kind of assuming that that scar ball is going to magically remodel itself into a normal, healthy muscle. And very often that does not happen. It stays very knotted and dense. And it can restrict your range of motion, cause you pain. That's why a lot of people report, hey, I had the surgery and it didn't get better, or it's even worse, which is a big problem. That's why they got to start working on the tissue quality, the range of motion, the motor control, all the recovery stuff, and the mental game of recovery. Step 1, optimize getting the knots out of your muscles, getting the scar tissue broken up and softened up. So that's the first one. That's critically important, is optimizing the tissue quality. You also want to optimize your range of motion by stretching your muscles. So you want to become a master of stretching. How do you know if you've become like a true master at stretching? One way of knowing is if you could go into a yoga class and you could do all of the basic postures without a problem, you've mastered stretching, you could say. Maybe the more advanced yoga poses you don't have to do just to recover from hip impingement. Another way of knowing if you've mastered range of motion is, can you do the splits to the side, to the front? Can you sit with your legs crossed and stacked on one another, called fire log pose in yoga, which just tests hip rotation. So can your hips move freely in all directions is one way of measuring if you've mastered stretching and range of motion training. You also have to optimize your motor control. You need to learn how to move better. There's always a biomechanically more ideal way of moving. For example, if you had hip impingement and you were squatting with a big excessive anterior pelvic tilt, you're going to get a lot more hip impingement. So you need to learn what is the perfect way to squat, to lunge, to run, to swim, to bike. There's a technique to all of that. So becoming a master of technique, a master of motor control, is one thing you really want to spend dedicated practice and study on after your hip surgery. Of course, what you eat, how you hydrate your tissues, and how you sleep, that's like the core three of recovery. If you put in good food into your body, nutritious vegetables, fruits, healthy protein, healthy fats, your essential fatty acids, things like that, that's going to help your tissues recover faster. If your muscles are well perfused with water and salts, and the water is getting into all of your muscles, that's going to help the recovery process. That's going to help your help get the knots out of your muscles. It's going to help your stretching and your range of motion training. And then sleep. Deep, restful sleep for enough hours, 8-9 hours a night, if you can get it, is optimal. And deep sleep is when your body repairs itself the most. So eating well, sleeping well, hydrating well is really going to help accelerate the process of your hip recovery after surgery. And then the head game, the head space. I've talked to a lot of people with FAI, and one of the things that recurringly comes up is like how mentally stressful it is dealing with it. A, with the pain, but B, with the thoughts about never being normal again, never being able to squat or play your sport, play hockey, do your jiu-jitsu or karate or dance or whatever you do. That can really mess with your mind. So how do you get your mental headspace? How do you get it? How do you master that? How do you get it good? I'm a big fan and proponent of meditation. I usually meditate about an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and I go on 10-day meditation retreats, and I'll tell you that has been a complete game changer for me in terms of being able to voluntarily relax my body, which helps your stretching, helps your tissue work, and helps you just not be tense and stressed and agitated, which can make you give up on all these things and give up on your path of mastery. So if you don't get this right, all the other stuff isn't going to work. So if you can take up a meditation practice, or even just spend 5-10 minutes of deep breathing before you do your stretching or your tissue work or something, no joke, that will really add up, in the compound effect of having a daily practice for all these things will really magnify itself over this long path of mastery. You can kind of, I guess the last thing that I would say is turning all these things into rituals will help you build a momentum that will get you to the finish line of having hips that have full function, no pain, no problems, and you'll be able to do all of the athletic things you want to do for the rest of your life. So think of it like you've got a snowball down here, this little tiny snowball. But if you do the daily work, that snowball is going to get bigger. And you do the work day in and day out, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that momentum will turn you into a master. True range of motion in all directions with your hips, no knots, healthy, supple tissues, and you'll be rewarded with being able to do all the things you want. So I hope that was helpful. If you're someone who's recovering from hip surgery for FAI, if you have any questions about it, shoot me an email, and I'll see you in the next video.